We're at that point in the Syracuse men's basketball season where they have to win games that they even want a shot at the NCAA tournament. So I guess it helps that they're winning games right now. We'll break down tonight's victory over the Pitt Panthers. We'll have highlights. We'll have coach sound. We'll have player sound. All coming up. Orange Press Pass starts right now. Welcome inside our CitrusTV studios. Jonah, Karp, Mike Adzima, Will Scott breaking down tonight's victory out in Pittsburgh over the Pitt Panthers, the second time this season, guys, that Syracuse has beaten Pitt. Look at this jacket, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, talk about a conversation starter, right?
I appreciate it, yes. I mean, we got bachelor season in full swing, basketball season coming down to the wire. Gotta love it, a lot going on.
Now I'm up here looking like, plain average Joe. I didn't know we were going to be breaking out the styles. Didn't know it was CitrusTV Fashion Week or something like that.
To be fair, Mike, I mean, had Will not broken out that jacket, your tie would have been the topic of conversation.
Oh,
That's a bold choice.
I like the purple.
Love the purple tie.
But it does match fairly well. What were your impressions of tonight's win, guys?
Back to basketball. My first impression for this one was Elijah Hughes is the best player in the ACC. He balled out tonight, really. He had 25 points, 9 rebounds in a blowout win in a game where, yes, they were on the road, but it's a game where Syracuse was supposed to win. They were tended to be the favorite team against Pitt. This is a historic rivalry game, and Elijah Hughes showed that he's the leader of this team. He's the guy who steps up when this team needs it the most. And granted, they weren't in any real close or clutch situations tonight, but that was mainly due to because Elijah Hughes had 25 points and really just went all out tonight. Jordan Moore at Louisville is an excellent player, but Elijah Hughes, best player in the ACC from what we saw tonight.
Absolutely agree with you. My first impression, though, would have to be, where has this been from Barama Sidibe? I mean, he has looked really, really good the last 2 games for Syracuse, especially tonight. 5 of 6 from the field. He had another double-digit rebound game. He was catching alley-oops. It was just unbelievable how well he looked tonight. And if Syracuse can get that more consistently from him, then maybe they can make a run here down the stretch. But for me, my first impression was Barama Sidibe. He was great from start to finish.
Will is energized tonight, guys. Barama Sidibe was pretty good.
I normally am pretty energized, but especially when Barama Sidibe steps up like he did tonight.
Barama Sidibe did step up. So did Elijah Hughes. So did a lot of players for Syracuse tonight. Let's take a look at the highlights. Syracuse, Pittsburgh, ACC battle. Second time this season these two teams are facing off. The 118th meeting between SU and Pitt. It was Elijah Hughes getting things going early. Little turnaround jumper inside the center of the lane. And then Justin Champagnie on the other side for Pittsburgh. But Pitt didn't really have a whole lot going in this game. Quincy Guerrier and then Barama Sidibe, like you mentioned, Will, with the finish.
Was that Barama Sidibe that did that? I mean, my goodness. I mean, he was getting up there tonight, but Buddy Boeheim, that was a very key moment in this game with the sprained ankle. Luckily, he ended up, luckily Syracuse ended up doing okay without him.
That turned out to be one of the big storylines of this game, Buddy going down, but it didn't end up mattering for Syracuse. A huge 16-point advantage at the halftime break. And into the second half, it was much the same for SU. Elijah Hughes, jab step at the top, pulling up from the parking lot and just hitting it from downtown. My goodness, he could just hit from anywhere.
Yeah, and this team really, they excelled from beyond the three-point line in that second half. Elijah Hughes knocking some down, Bryson Goodine, Joe Girard is shooting some nice shots from beyond the arc too. Syracuse showing that they're capable of shooting the 3-ball in that second half.
That time a little more conventional alley-oop to Barama Sidibe. And then the kick out to Brendan Paul. What? Hitting it at the buzzer. That's your final score, 72-49. Syracuse taking down Pitt in front of the Panther faithful. Elijah Hughes with a huge game tonight, guys.
Yeah, I already talked about Elijah Hughes, and we talked about Barama Sidibe as well. Those two guys stepped up. Barama Sidibe, a career night with a double-double. But again, I can't stress enough how good Elijah Hughes was tonight. He really stepped up, and you can't discount. You can't take anything away from Joe Girard, the third two stepping up in the backcourt after Buddy Boeheim went down.
Joe Girard, 4 of 7 from three-point range. He was fantastic. First time in a while he's been over 50% from three-point range. So give those two guys credit, Hughes and Girard.
All leading to a 72-49 victory for Syracuse against Pittsburgh. Out in Pittsburgh, we welcome in Sam Rothman, our reporter out in Pittsburgh. Sam, we saw Buddy go down in the first half, didn't end up returning. What did Coach Boeheim have to say about his condition?
Jonah, the first question asked to Coach Boeheim wasn't even about the game. It was about his son. He immediately said that Buddy's fine. It's just a left ankle sprain. No worries. But he did add how proud he was of this team and of his players to step up with Buddy sidelined. Boeheim's been such an integral part of this team, and it was so important tonight for those players to step up in order to get this win.
Syracuse had been outplayed a lot this year on the boards, but they won the battle on the glass tonight. What looked different for Syracuse tonight in the paint?
I don't know if it was what was different or who was different, because the name repeated over and over again in that locker room was Barama Sidibe, for good reason. He was fantastic tonight. He picked up 10 boards. He was great on the glass. And then he turned his defense into offense with a season-high 13 points. And Boeheim joked after the game saying he probably should have been a Panther because 2 years ago he dropped 18 here. That was a career high for him, but still a great performance tonight all around for him, and he really was the difference on the glass tonight.
Sam, Syracuse at times this season has had trouble starting fast in the second half, but that has not been the case the last two games. Did you feel like they played with more energy tonight coming out of the gate in the second half?
Down the stretch, Syracuse has really taken its foot off the gas when it comes to that second half. And I talked to Quincy Guerrier about it after the game, and he says once they have that lead, they kind of take a step back, they get too comfortable. That wasn't the case tonight. Whether it was Girard coming out and knocking down back-to-back threes, Bryson Godine coming in, getting a huge rebound, lobbing it over to Elijah Hughes for the score, and then, of course, Barama Sidibe's performance. It was just a 40-minute full team effort tonight, and it's exactly what Syracuse needed heading into the rest of the schedule.
Sam Rothman, our CitrusTV beat reporter covering the men's basketball team out at the Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh. Sam, thanks so much. Well, guys, like Sam mentioned, we were talking about Buddy Boeheim, and Sam was talking about Buddy Boeheim, and Coach Boeheim was talking about his son, Buddy Boeheim, and for good reason. 0 points tonight, 14 minutes, and an injury. Can this team survive without him on the court?
I mean, we hopefully we all agree that we want Buddy Boeheim to recover quickly from this. We hope that he's okay, and it's looking like it's not going to be anything serious. But you mentioned 0 points in 14 minutes today, and the team, they thrived in the second half. That offense did really well in the second half without him in that backcourt. They were fooling around with Elijah Hughes playing at the 2 a little bit, with Quincy Guerrier taking over at the 3. And that's a lineup that they could maybe try to fit in more going down the stretch of this season, because it worked a bit, pretty well.
Give Syracuse credit. They really did a great job tonight in absence of Buddy Boeheim for much of that game. But going forward, Syracuse cannot survive without Buddy Boeheim. They're not going to be able to win games in the ACC tournament without one of the best shooters in all the ACC. And I get it, the last few weeks, Buddy Boeheim has not been himself. But still, you need a shooter like that on the floor. Bryson Goodine did a great job filling that void today, but Bryson Goodine is not the shooter that Buddy Boeheim is. Syracuse needs him to get back and get back fast.
Only a few more games remaining in the regular season for Syracuse. They're going to need a player like Buddy Boeheim if they're going to win out, and they're going to need to keep winning ball games if they want a shot at the NCAA tournament. When we come back after this quick break, we'll hear from Coach Boeheim, what he had to say, maybe about Buddy and other factors leading to this big-time Syracuse victory out in Pitt. Don't go anywhere. You're watching OPP.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Wait, why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where did Cavs go on vacation? New York.
He was just good from the beginning. He hasn't been shooting it well, and when he makes some shots, he's hard to defend because you got to get up on him, and he gets by people. He was really good tonight. I mean, he's as good as anybody. You know, he's had a great year. He's playing great basketball. We were about a little bit more active, I thought, and they missed some shots. It was a combination, really. But we were much better. We got some steals. Baramba blocked some shots. You know, he's got 4 blocks and 5 steals, and those have been points. Those have been points. Those have been 10 points or 12 points. And when he plays like that, we're obviously a much better team. You know, he was really good tonight, really good.
So Jim Boeheim pleased with the performance of his players tonight, and for good reason, more specifically Elijah Hughes, Bourama Sidibe, with great nights tonight.
And those are the two guys we've talked about the most so far, and we're going to keep talking about because they had the best nights tonight. Elijah Hughes showed up, balled out in a game where we expected him to against, you know, a weaker Pitt team, in a game on the road, and a game where Syracuse really, when they need to win out going forward, and this was a game they blew out an opponent that they were expected to beat, and Elijah Hughes did that, showed his authority in this one, and Bourama Sidibe just a cherry on top with a night for best night of the season.
Right, but when Buddy went down, I mean, I think we were all freaking out a little bit, like, oh, what does this mean for Syracuse? Because Syracuse had a big lead. We thought that might be a turning point, but give this Orange team credit. I mean, everyone else stepped up. Elijah Hughes, Bourama Sidibe looked really good tonight down low. Syracuse able to get the big win.
When you actually compare the numbers between tonight and the last time these two teams met, which was at the end of January, that was only an 8-point victory for Syracuse inside the Carrier Dome. 69-61 was the final score. But the numbers, guys, they tell a different story. They almost tell the story of tonight, a blowout victory in favor of Syracuse.
Yeah, and Syracuse in that last game against Pitt, it was a close game, not unlike unlike this one. Syracuse, but really just blew them out in this one. Just really pulled away in this one, and the rebounds jump out from Syracuse tonight. I mean, they had 2 more rebounds than they did in that first matchup against Pitt, but Syracuse really asserted themselves on the glass tonight, something we don't really see too often this year.
Right, and I think the big difference between this game and the last game, sure, the stats are very similar, but Syracuse, much like tonight, last month, got off to a hot start. The Orange were up 20 in that first game against Pittsburgh, but then Pitt got back in that game. That was not the case this time around. Syracuse kept their foot on the gas and was able to win the game big because of the rebounding, I think, from Bourama Sidibe, Marek Dolezaj, Quincy Guerrier.
And also Elijah Hughes. It helps that he had 25 points tonight. Elijah Hughes was the star of the show. Safe to say, guys, I think in tonight's game, Elijah Hughes was a superstar, and that's what we've come to expect this season.
And I've praised this guy already a lot on this show tonight. What can I say that I haven't really said already? 25 points in this game, 9 rebounds, so almost had the double-double, came close. And also, one thing, he was 2 for 8 from 3 points, from beyond the 3-point line tonight. That's one thing that could maybe he could pick up in these last few games of the season. He's still the best player in the ACC, in my opinion. I know you agree with me, Will. Just the one thing that he can maybe pick up is that 3-point shooting that could really push him over the edge and help this Syracuse team win every game going forward.
Imagine if he does get hot from beyond the arc. What that's going to mean for this Syracuse team. I mean, he's not really known for his 3-point shooting, but yet he leads the ACC in points per game over Jordan Moore. So if Elijah Hughes, like you said, can get hot from beyond the arc down the stretch, it's going to make this Syracuse team very, very dangerous. But I think for Syracuse, when you look at this roster right now, you have some guys playing their best basketball. Bourama Sidibe, Elijah Hughes, Joe Girard has been playing really well as of late. So that means good things for Syracuse down the stretch.
Elijah Hughes certainly making his case for ACC Player of the Year. He'll be in that conversation come season end time. Somebody who won't be in that conversation, but has certainly improved as of late and has become a key factor and might be a key factor moving forward. Bourama Sidibe, a career night.
Bourama Sidibe, a career night, and you said, Will, earlier, this was like your first impressions. Where has this been all this time? Bourama, what have you been doing? Why can't we see this more often, man? But the reality of it is Pitt isn't too much of a challenge down low in the paint.
You're right.
Their tallest guy is Terrell Brown. He's around 6'10", but he's not even a starter. I think he played maybe only 3-4 minutes on the floor tonight. So Pitt, not a team that's going to challenge you, when it comes down low in the paint. So Bourama Sidibe, he got off a little easy tonight maybe with having to play this certain opponent, and he still got into foul trouble for me. So who knows if he's going to be able to keep, this streak up.
And Georgia Tech not great either, just as an overall team. So the question is, can he do this against the elite teams in this conference? And for Syracuse, their schedule down the stretch really not that difficult. So he's going to have a really good opportunity to continue this. But I think the big thing with Sidibe is just that he's getting more confident. He's being more aggressive down low. He, I think, has more trust in himself. I mean, he just has more confidence in himself to get the job done down low for Syracuse with rebounding, with scoring. He's being more physical down there. So I think that's the big thing for Sidibe is just his confidence level.
And Georgia Tech and Pitt, these are the type of games where you're supposed to build confidence, especially going into a time now where they have to make a push in the conference tournament in a few weeks.
The graphic's gone now, but I think that was a Little Shop of Horrors reference. Suddenly Sidibe. We like musical theater on this show. When we come back on Orange Press Pass, we'll hear from the players, Elijah Hughes, Bourama Sidibe, what they had to say about their performances tonight. And also, well, we'll play a little game. It's not Monopoly. It'll be fun, though. We'll be right back.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I had something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Bourama held it down in there. Pretty much, he was anchored tonight, and he really was big for us. Like I said, he did this kind of things that you don't see in the stat sheet, but he got a lot of deflections, took some charges, and he was really big for us down there.
When we're moving, everyone gotta have their open shots, gotta be aggressive on the boards, and that's pretty much it. Everyone did a pretty good job. Elijah finished with 9, I finished with 7, Bourama 10, I think Rec 9. We got to take rebounds. We got to be able to go to the board every time, and that's what we did today.
All right, so you heard both Elijah Hughes and Quincy Guerrier talking about Bourama Sidibe. His magnificent performance tonight, 13 points, that's a season high for him. We've just been talking about him all night.
Yeah, we've been talking about this guy all night, and because he had a career night, like you mentioned, and so we got to give him the praise, we got to give him the props. Bourama, we don't see this a lot from a guy like him. There's a lot of times where we say, Bourama, what are you doing out there? Sometimes he gives the Orange fans a lot of headaches, gives this team a lot of trouble with fouls and not producing as well down in the paint. But tonight he proved that he can do that and be capable as a real big man down low, even though he didn't have a whole lot of competition.
I think a lot of Syracuse fans were maybe wanting him out of the starting lineup and Quincy Guerrier in, but Bourama is proving himself right now for the Syracuse team, and if he keeps this up, Syracuse might finish this season very strong. And like we discussed earlier, the schedule not too difficult, so maybe they'll have an opportunity to win a few more games here down the stretch.
Also a plus, Bourama Sidibe did not foul out in this game. Did finish with 4 fouls. Breaking news.
He was close. It was close.
Foul out. He was close. He averages about 4 fouls per game, so he hit his average, but didn't go over. Let's play a little game, guys. Let's play buy or sell. I think that would be fun. And we're going to discuss, can Syracuse take this game and maybe wrap it in a ball of momentum and carry that into the next few games? All right?
do it.
So first, we're going to start with the three ball. Syracuse was very effective with the three ball in this game, but can they continue? Do you buy or sell, Mike, that they can continue shooting from downtown?
I'm going to buy it. I'm going to say Syracuse is going to be able to keep that momentum from beyond the arc going. This is their second game in a row shooting above 30% from beyond the three-point line. JG3, he had a good night from three tonight, kind of a resurgence for him. He hasn't been doing so well lately when it comes to shooting threes, but he did better tonight. I think he should keep it going to finish out the year strong. And Elijah Hughes, if he can maybe pick that up too, like I mentioned earlier, and this Syracuse team can start to really pick things up when it comes to three-point shooting.
You mentioned Joe Girard, he stepped up, but this is the first time in over a month where he shot higher than 40% from three-point range. I need to see more of this from him before we get too excited. So I'm going to sell for that reason. Instead of inside of the three-point line, he's been great, but I'm going to sell this for now. SU just ranked 157th as a team in three-point efficiency.
That's not too good. No, math tells you that that's not too good. So three-point shooting, Mike, you buy it. Ever the optimist, Mike Adzima is. The defense also very effective in this game for Syracuse. Will, do you buy or sell that this defense can continue on this track?
I'm going to sell again. I'm sorry. I mean, the Syracuse defense had a pretty easy matchup against Pittsburgh tonight. Pitt's offense is ranked 164th in offensive efficiency. I'm hitting you with all the big numbers tonight, Jonah. Hope you like math. This Syracuse defense was great, but this is the first time since January 15th against Boston College that Syracuse has allowed less than 60 points. They look great today, but in the last few weeks, they haven't looked great. So for me, I got to sell.
I agree with you, Will. I'm selling on this one. Jonah, I know you just called me the optimist, but flipping on that, selling on this one as well for the exact same reasons you kind of just said, Will. Pitt isn't that much of a challenge defensively, and this zone is still exploitable. The bigs, Dolajai and Sidibe, are just too inconsistent. And in the next game for Syracuse this weekend against UNC, they have to play a guy named Cole Anthony. You might have heard of him.
He's pretty good.
I know a lot of people are kind of sleeping on him. He missed significant time this year with an injury. UNC isn't that good, but Cole Anthony is one of the best players in the ACC, along with Elijah Hughes. So that's who Syracuse has to go up against later this week.
Mike's two favorite hobbies, fishing and calling me out on things. Try to prove me right, Mike.
I haven't been fishing in a while.
Well, try to prove me right that you're ever the optimist, Mike. Foul trouble. Syracuse can avoid foul trouble. Buy or sell?
Jonah, I got to tell you, I got to sell this one too. Baram Sidibe still had 4 fouls tonight. Right. He was still in danger of fouling out in his career game. This Syracuse team, they just can't seem to get the point down low of positioning themselves, putting themselves in a good position to block shots and collect rebounds without fouling players. They just can't seem to really get a handle on it. It's been something that this Syracuse team, especially the bigs, have had trouble with in the last few years with Pascal Chukwu, before Baram Sidibe. They just can't seem to get a handle of things down low, and they get in foul trouble, and then they don't have a lot of depth at that big position to back it up.
Surprise, surprise, I'm selling again. I mean, this is only the second straight game that SU hasn't had any players foul out. But like you said, they still had guys in foul trouble. Sidibe had 4, Dolajai had 3, Guerrier had 3. So for me, that's still a big problem for Syracuse is that foul trouble, and I think it's going to be a problem the rest of the season.
Let's finish this game out on a high note. Buy or sell? Effectiveness inside the paint, Will. Buy or sell?
I am finally going to buy one here. I'm not selling for the first time tonight. I think SU has been great in the paint as of late. Quincy Guerrier, fantastic. Dolajai, pretty good tonight. Not his best stuff tonight, but lately he's been really good for Syracuse. So I'm a big fan of what I'm seeing down low for this Syracuse team. I mean, Sidibe, 5 of 6 from inside the paint. So for me, Syracuse is playing their best there right now.
I'm going to go out on a low note. I'm selling on this one, Jonah. I know you want me to be the optimist, but Pitt's tallest player isn't even a starter. They didn't really have much of a challenge down low in the paint tonight, did Syracuse. Baram Sidibe, we don't know when he's going to have a game like this, if he'll ever have one again the rest of this season. So really, just in my opinion, the bigs are too inconsistent for me to really buy on this one, so I got to sell.
We finally got Will to buy something. I get all my financial advice from Will Scott. When we come back, we're going to look around the ACC. We're going to take a look around the conference, all the games going on tonight. Syracuse faring pretty well right now. Don't go anywhere. You're watching OPP. So we've been riding this Syracuse team for a few months now saying, you know what, it doesn't look like they're going to make it to the NCAA tournament. Tough schedule, and Syracuse doesn't have that marquee win, but they're hanging in it, guys. They're right in there.
Yeah, now it's just a battle to get back on the bubble for this Syracuse team. They were on the bubble for a while there, January, that 5-game win streak. They've fallen off of it. Now they got to battle through the rest of this schedule, which isn't too tough, thankfully. And then through the ACC tournament, they got to win probably 2 games that they won't even get back in that bubble conversation.
Last 3 games for Syracuse are all 2 teams in the bottom of the ACC right now. So I think Syracuse has a better chance than people think to sneak back on the bubble.
Well, if you look at the ACC standings, Syracuse is hovering right toward the middle. I mean, they're 9-8 in ACC play this year. 16-12 is the record overall. They're not looking too bad right now, guys, heading into the ACC tournament.
And any other year being top 6, 7, 8 even in the ACC is probably going to guarantee you a tourney bid in March. But this year, the conference is just so kind of down, kind of weak overall, that's not really a guarantee. So Syracuse getting a little, I don't know how to really phrase it, but getting a little bit of the wrong end of the stick, you can say, with the conference playing out this year, how it has, and now being top 6, 7 in the ACC isn't going to get them what it usually would.
Yeah, I mean this ACC is just very weak. You might only have 4 ACC teams get in this year.
And Virginia with a huge victory today over Virginia Tech on the road. Kihei Clark hitting a game-winning 3 with time slowly expiring. Guys, final thoughts about Syracuse's victory today. Mike, we'll start with you.
My final thought, it goes with a guy that we've been talking about a lot in this show, and it's Elijah Hughes. Elijah Hughes can carry this Syracuse team the rest of the way this season. We mentioned the schedule not being too tough outside of the ACC tournament still to come, but the last few games of the regular season, not very tough. So Elijah, if he plays like he did tonight, proves that he's the best player in the ACC, which he's going to want to prove. He's going to want to ball out in these last few games to show those voters for that ACC Player of the Year that he's the one that deserves it. The tourney hopes of this team are almost finished, but Elijah can at least still show out. And if he gets that ACC Player of the Year, it's at least something this team can tout from this season and say, hey, we had the best guy in the conference.
Right, more to brag about than an NIT berth, which looks fairly likely right now. But that brings me to my final thought. It ain't over. Syracuse still has a chance to make the NCAA tournament. Let me tell you why. If they win their remaining 3 regular season games, which I would say is likely because of how bad those teams are, Syracuse will have had a 12-8 record in the ACC, 18-13 overall. That would put them back on the bubble. And if they can win their first ACC tournament game, which should be a fairly easy game against the 11, 12, 13 seed, that's going to put them maybe inside of the NCAA tournament. And if they can beat maybe Virginia in the second round, third round, watch out. This Syracuse team might make the NCAA tournament. If they can finish strong down the stretch, they're going to have a chance to get in.
That's the key right there. Finishing strong for Syracuse. Do they win their next game, guys?
Against UNC, this is a tough one.
Cole Anthony.
We mentioned Cole Anthony. Then in North Carolina, they struggled this year, only 4-13 in the conference. But this is a game I could see Syracuse maybe dropping in the dome. But for now, I'll say the Orange win.
I say the Orange win, a very close game.
Well, Will
very
Scott.
Close.
Very close. Very close. Against Cole Anthony and the UNC Tar Heels. That'll do it for us. Jonah, Karp, Mike Adzima, Will Scott bringing down a big win for Syracuse tonight. This was Orange Press Pass. So long. Thanks for watching.